Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show.
On a beach in the sand, I think of you. I think of you. Did you realize I love you all my life? And when you're gone, I'm all alone.
Welcome back. I am Curt Williams, the spiritualist. Let me explain again. I'm going to keep reiterating what a spiritualist is. A spiritualist is someone who communicates with their spirit, and their spirit communicates back. We have a relationship like that. Everyone has the ability to be a spiritualist, but we are taught from the time we're very little not to. We are taught to trust other things. The things we learn in schools, the things we learn in church. The things we learn in church is how not to communicate with your spirit, because once you begin to do that, it will pretty much, every time you hear something in church that's not right, your spirit there's an alarm that's going to go off. Like, wait a minute. And you won't be able to stand all those wait a minutes. Not to mention the fact that if you are a spiritualist, you would find it very difficult to sit somewhere for a couple of hours and listen to somebody talk about some stuff that you know more about than they do. And I say that in all seriousness. When I first started this, I was kind of reticent to say something like that. And I knew I had to put myself in a position where I was comparing myself to theologians and preachers and popes. But I'm long since past that. I've gotten over that to the point where I don't think there's any comparison between people who are teaching from a script. Spiritualists don't teach from a script. What we do is we are told things and what to do in the moment, in the year 2025, not going back to the beginning of the biblical days. Those days are irrelevant. I don't know how much emphasis anybody wants to put on Bible scriptures, because they don't mean anything today. They've been reassigned, regurgitated, reprocessed so many times. I don't know how anybody would trust any of them. There are some of them that are pretty good, but a lot of them are pretty bad. And so spiritualists, we don't. There's no purpose. If I have to debate against a preacher, then that preacher has to understand I don't care about your scriptures because I don't agree with them. So that's what it is. We have a lot of confidence in our spirituality. I have the utmost confidence in mine because I know that it is real. I'm having a sort of a difficult time teaching people this because they don't seem to, they're not hearing anything. And in the beginning, they're hearing things, but they don't know. It's almost like looking at a forest, but not quite knowing what you're looking for. Your spirit is communicating with you 24/7. The fact that you're giving credit to angels and to God is the problem, because how are you going to make a distinction if you keep giving it the credit that where it doesn't belong? The creator of the universe, I have to keep saying that, it is not what you are taught in the Bible. It's not a guy who sits on a throne and says you're going to heaven and you're going to hell. That's quite antithetical. It's antithetical to creation. What the creator is exactly what his title is. He creates. How he creates, we won't get into the science, but if you really want to, I'll get into that one day, because I don't want to bog anybody down right here. But there is a science to it. The reason there is a science to it is because science has not created anything that the creator has not already created. Science is simply discovering things that the creator already has done. And the one thing that people get a mistake when they're talking about the creator is personality. The creator does not have a personality. When I say personality, I mean multiple. He doesn't have the emotion like you would consider seeing in a human being. Emotion of anger, emotion of this kind of it's beyond what you would consider to be love. It's more like, with the creator, it's more than love. It's like say you, I'm not going to say you are the creator, but basically the creator loves himself because he's all knowing. He loves himself, and all of creation is a part of his own self-maintenance. The way the creator is creating is by using spirits, pieces of himself that go into avatars like human beings, birds, cats, rocks, whatever. Anything that exists has a piece of the creator in it, and the creator views life from the perspective of that particular avatar. So he can see people suffer and witness it because but it's not because he caused it. You know, things are caused by different things. He has nothing to do with it. Anybody in church that will tell you it is God's will, if God knows, they don't know who they're talking about. They're talking about what their preachers have been teaching them for years, and preachers will always teach this because, you know, I don't mean to be too hard on it, because we all have a right to believe in what we believe in, but they should know better. They should be further along than to be saying the same things that their fathers told and their fathers told. That should be embarrassing. I would be embarrassed if the only thing I knew was what my father said. I mean, that's not the point. The point of life is not to stagnate like that. It is to progress. We're supposed to know more than our parents. I would love to teach my sons more than I know so they can go on, but you know, they're kind of stuck on the past too. So, and you have to let people have freedom to do what they want. Now, one thing that I am doing right now is I'm trying to explain how spirituality works, for me anyway, because it's becoming more and more amazing every day. The Altadena fires. I'm from Altadena. The house I had for 55 years. Somebody sent me a picture where the trees were on fire. Now, the thing about this is, for me to best explain spirituality from a spiritual standpoint is for me to give you examples, which is what I've been doing. Now, let me tell you how I see the Altadena fires from a spiritual standpoint. Your spirit knows everything. Your spirit knows everything that's going to happen. You have to learn how to listen to it. My spirit, once I developed a relationship, I no longer had a choice to listen. It said, no, you're gonna listen because we are a team. And once I agreed to be a part of that team, then I allowed my spirit to do whatever he wanted to do with me. And I was like, okay, this is kind of tough, but I'm gonna roll with you. I'm gonna roll with you on this one. So see where I know you, because my grandmother used to say, everything works out to the good. So I know my spirit won't do anything that I can't handle. So I try to do everything right. I try to take care of my family and everything. And I told you in the last episode how I lost my house in Altadena. I lost it 7 years ago during the real estate scandal, during the time when Bank of America stole all these homes and stuff like that. That's when I decided to leave Altadena. So I was not a resident in Altadena during the fire last week. Of course not. However, it's where I grew up. It's my hometown, and it's what you never realize how much you would miss something. I look at Altadena now like in the same kind of reference as the movie Independence Day. When you remember when Vivica Fox's son asked her what happened, and she said, "I don't know, baby." It's like I can't even relate to all that and all the people that I grew up with and that have lost everything. But however, this is what happened to me. About 7 or 8 years ago, my family decided that they want to go in another direction. They wanted to raise horses and have a farm, and they knew I wasn't going to be a part of that. So they basically found a way to take my business from me and say, hit the road, Jack. I could have done something about it then, but that would have meant sending my mother to jail, and I wasn't about to do that. So I just trusted the process, and I said, okay, I'm out. I'm going to go with the flow. At the time, I had a friend of mine who was trying to get me to move to Ghana, and he had been trying to do that for 10 years. And I said, well, maybe this is a sign. Maybe I'm supposed to go to Ghana. So I got in touch with him, and we made the arrangements. He was a friend of the king of the tribe, so to speak. They have a lot of them, but he was that kind of thing. And he told me that when I get to Ghana, I would be living in the palace in Accra, near the ocean. Well, the problem with the palace in Accra, nobody lived there for 20 years, and the real palace was up in the mountains. But this one was, could you imagine, the kind of thing where the palace had vines and things growing all over it. It was falling apart. But since I was in construction, I would be able to take a little small area 1 month at a time and recreate that and create a little palace within the palace. I had the space and all the stuff. So I was shipping my boat out there and shipping everything out there, and I was all ready to go. And then he died, and I was not about to go to an unknown place where I didn't know anybody. And nobody would have known me. I said, did you know my friend? He told me, well, we don't know your friend, and we don't care about what you're talking about. So I literally had to start over. And I have a friend of mine who said, Curt, I know a lady who has a security guard company. She'll hire you. Called you up. Next thing I know, I was a security guard. Now, starting over. Lost my whole business to my family. They're gone. They're gone to Riverside. They're going to have a ranch with 40 animals on it and buy a bunch of stuff with the money I created in my business. So here I am having to start over. And only thing I had was to go with me was the clothes that I had. I had to sell my Hammond organ. I had to sell keyboards. I had to sell a lot of things, but I kept my studio equipment. I kept the basic things that I was going to take with me to Africa. I still had those things. And so, and I had my vehicle. I had a Jeep Commanders, one of the big Jeeps. It was very, very nice. But what happened as soon as this occurred, the engine light came on, and I was stuck on the freeway. I couldn't get off in time before the engine blew up. Catastrophic engine failure. Now I don't have a Jeep no more. And this is where it gets real crazy. I'm thinking, Big Curt, Spirit, what's going on? This is one thing after another. This is getting ridiculous. And so I started learning lessons at that particular time. I almost got more connected with my spirit during that time. Not almost, I did. Matter of fact, I didn't even know about a big Curt back then. All I knew was it was a voice trying to tell me stuff. So this is when me and this voice really began to communicate, because when you're in a crisis mode, when you're at your lowest point is when these things occur. I know about this because I was there. And so my stepdaughter, she had an extra car that she didn't drive. And I'm talking about the car was pretty rough. It was the kind of car that you can clean it 10 times and it would still look like you hadn't cleaned it because it was like the color of dirt. Really, I don't mean to put it down. The car was so it was called what's that car that OJ was driving? The Blazer. It was called a Ford Blazer, but it was like maybe the first ever, and it was so anyway. But one thing about that car, she would always, every couple of days when she passed by, she would get out and take a little piece of napkin or whatever and wipe it off. And when she wiped it off, it even looked worse. So, but she didn't care. This was her baby, and she had a nice car, but she made sure she kept her baby right, because that was her baby. I had to use her baby. And I looked at it. And I went from bawling in Pasadena to working as a security guard and having to drive. Let me tell you how bad that car was. That car was so bad that in order to go in reverse, you had to stop and let it cool down for 30 minutes. You did. Or you had to turn it off and push it backward. So everywhere you drove, you had to make sure you did not have to back up, because if you did, you was in trouble. And it was smoking. The car was smoking. The car was smoking when you drove it, like on the freeway. It was smoking back there. And not only that, you ever see these old cartoons with the old ladies driving and everybody that drive, they go like this while they're driving? That's how I was driving. I was on the freeway driving like this, and that was to make the car go straight. Because if you didn't do that, it would be like, so you had to go like this and go all the way down. That's how you had to drive. And you got so good at it, it would go straight as long as you kept your eyes moving. But it was funny. And then the car was smoking, and you could tell that people was pulling up and looking at you. And so as they was pulling up and looking at me, I knew they was looking. And I knew, one thing I knew was how funny I looked. And I had a sense of humor. As pitiful as I was able to crack up at how pitiful I looked. One day you bawl and the next day you drive down the street. I was like, so when they would come and look at me, I would just laugh at my situation because I was so pitiful. Kicked out of Altadena because of real estate crack. Kicked out of my family because they wanted to do something else. And here I am. Now I'm driving this car. But what I learned about that was all of the appreciation that she treated that car like it was gold. Now it was something I needed. I started working in Hollywood, and I'm driving this car. I had a cell phone. This is how broke I was. I had a cell phone that was all cracked up in the front so you can barely see it. So when you put your phone down in the break room and people saw it, they could look at your phone and tell you ain't got no money. Because you look at your phone. That's your phone? Yeah. You could tell this person doesn't have no money because their phone, you can't even see the numbers on it. That's how you could tell. But anyway, I had to laugh at that. There were so many things going on. And as a security guard downtown LA, I managed to have a lot of fun hanging out with people. I had crackheads, intravenous drug users coming over to talk to me because I was encouraging them and telling them, and they were telling me very great things like, Curt, the only reason I'm hanging on here, man, is because and I would give them stuff. I would pay them $20 to not steal for the rest of the day. I never would have experienced downtown like that. I never would have experienced Skid Row had I been in Altadena all that time. So I was able to see the world from a whole nother perspective, one that I didn't even know existed. And so, I took a lot of pride in that growth. And then you hang in there long enough. I went and got my white truck that I had left at the group home. I fixed it up, so finally got my white truck back. So I'm doing a little better. And so each little step that you make, you're doing a little better. I had to get rid of a lot of things because you weren't the person you were before. And then ultimately, see, as I look back, the worst point I ever got, if I ever got to the point where I was going to give up, and I got to that point, I got to the point where, okay, now I'm just going to have to go find some place and just die, really. I did get to that point. That was my lowest point. And that was during COVID, when I was looking at the news and thousands of people were dying every day. And the hospitals were saying, if you catch COVID, don't even bother to come here. And I had no place to go. I couldn't go to my family anymore because, like I said, we had already been estranged and I had nowhere to go. So if I had caught COVID at the time and I couldn't breathe, I would just have to go somewhere and not breathe. That was probably me at my worst. I was most afraid at that particular point because I saw that happening to people. I saw people who were living in their cars during COVID, and I could tell when the person wasn't around anymore because the car had been there in that parking lot for a year, and all of a sudden it's gone. I said, that person's gone. And death at the time was so, one of my sisters passed during that time, and they didn't even have time to give her a proper funeral until a couple of years later. So that was the worst time for me, when I knew that, okay, if anything happens, I'm just going to have to go somewhere and quietly, but it wouldn't be difficult because I would have already had COVID and I couldn't breathe anyway. In other words, I was going to be out ready to die anyway. So, it was just, there was no place to go get help. I do believe I may have caught COVID because one day I woke up and I took 3 steps and all of a sudden I was dizzy. Like about to fall over dizzy. Fall over dizzy. And I stayed dizzy for 3 or 4 months. I had stopped drinking alcohol years before that. However, it was the same thing as being drunk, really. So, you know how it was when you used to be drunk and do all the stuff. Well, the feeling I had was like I was drunk. And so, whenever I walked upstairs, I had to hold on to a rail and all this. And that may have been me having COVID because another couple of people in my household said that they were dizzy too. So if I did catch COVID, I only got dizzy. I didn't get the respiratory things, which would have killed me. And I could deal with the dizzy because I was just dizzy for 3 months. So that might have been COVID for me, I'm not sure. But anyway, now, since that time, like I said, I've written a book, I'm doing this, I'm a spiritualist, and all this is going on. And I work in Holmby Hills, at the top of Beverly Hills, and it was so ironic when this is the way my spirit talks to me. We were sitting down and on the news, the fires were on. It had just started in Pacific Palisades, and somebody next to me started singing the song Fire. I said, wait, what are you doing? Stop, wait, what if that was your home? You know what I mean? They're clowning it. If it was my home, I'd be singing Burning Down the House. Okay, you keep playing like that. So I knew something. I knew something that I didn't know. In other words, my spirit was saying something about this is not going to be regular. Something about this one is not going to be normal. So I literally went to work, and I'm at the top of Holmby Hills overlooking Los Angeles, and I can look over here and I can see the fires in Pacific Palisades clear as day. And I could tell that these flames were like 30 feet tall. But over in the back of me, right a little to the left, I saw another fire. and that was the Eden Canyon fire. And I was like, once I realized what that was, I was like, oh, wow. Another Eden Canyon fire, because I've seen many of them in the past 60 years. One time, there was a fire up there right above the hills, and I was leaving Long Beach, and I could see the flames on that mountain, same mountain, from Long Beach. And then I would come home and just sit in my bedroom with my window open and look at the mountains on fire, not ever dreaming that they would ever come down to Altadena, to the housing aspect of Altadena. And it would always get stopped right there at the mountains, always, and we always had the winds. But this time, I didn't realize that the fire I was looking at was literally about to burn down the place where I lived for 50 years. You know, since I was in second grade, I moved from Pasadena to Altadena. So, to make a long story short, and I'm going to keep talking about this in this series, is how life works. My spirit knew that Altadena at a particular time was gonna go. I believe that now. I know that now. And my spirit was like, Curt, I'm gonna get you out of here 7 years before. I'm gonna strip you of everything. And you're gonna work your way through that. So by the time the real thing happens, see, because this is something that I know. If I hadn't left Altadena when I did, let's say my businesses were thriving, I would have had 3, 4 group homes, 5. I would have had one of the nicest houses around, you know, knowing me, and I would have had all kinds of stuff going on. It would have been fabulous, and every penny I had would have been tied up in it with me doing my thing and everything. But the difference is, in one evening, one night, in January 2025, all that would have been erased. And I would have been one of the ones right now starting over confused, like I was 7 years ago. So what I'm telling you to you people right now are who are lost and confused about number one, I assure you, it is not God that is doing this to you. God has nothing to do with this. First thing you're going to have to do is the same thing I did. You're going to have to breathe. You're going to have to realize a few things. You're going to have to realize that life is a challenge, but you will get through this if you need to keep a sense of humor, number one. Number two, you're going to have to realize that all these things are going to come together for good. And so all I'm trying to explain to you is that the challenges you are going to go through in the next few years even, you will be able to get through these challenges. There will be help for you at every turn. You will find people who are willing to help you wherever. I've been through it. I've had to go through it, and now I can only thank my spirit for allowing to teach me the same lesson that they're learning in Altadena. I was taught that about 7 years ago, so that now I can look back and go, you know, at least I'm through, you know, and it's not going to make me feel any better about what's happening in Altadena. It just gives me more of an ability, I feel, to help people who are going through something I've already gone through. And so we're going to keep talking about this for a very long time, because it's going to be very important that we do so. And thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we're going to get through this because I've been there. Thank you.
Right right there. Love me too. Love me too. Love me too. Yeah, right there. Love me too. Yeah, right there. Right there. Love me too.
Subscribe and push the like button.